Captain Jake Morrison stared at the sensor readings on his command screen and rubbed his tired eyes. The numbers made no sense. His exploration ship, the UES Horizon, had been mapping the outer edges of the Kepler Nebula for 3 weeks without finding anything interesting. Now, their long-range scanners were picking up something that should not exist in this part of space. "Amy, take a look at this," Jake called to his chief engineer. Lieutenant Amy Foster pushed herself away from the engineering console and floated over to him in the low-gravity section of the bridge. Her blonde hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and grease stains marked her blue uniform from working. "On the ship systems all morning?" "What am I looking at, Captain?" Amy squinted at the display. The readings showed a large metallic object drifting about 2 million kilometers away. It was much too big to be space debris, but too small to be an asteroid. The shape was wrong for both. "Danny, can you get us a visual on that contact?" Jake turned to his communications officer. Danny Rodriguez had been quiet for most of the shift, focused on monitoring deep space transmissions. His dark eyes lit up with interest as he adjusted the main viewer. The screen flickered and then showed a clear image that made everyone on the bridge go silent. Floating in the empty space between stars was a ship unlike anything they had ever seen. It was sleek and curved, almost like it had grown instead of being built. The hull looked smooth as glass, but it reflected light in strange patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Is that one of ours?" asked Lisa Park, the navigation specialist. She had short red hair and freckles that made her look younger than her 28 years. Lisa had studied every human ship design in the databases, but this vessel looked nothing like any of them. "Run a registry check," Jake ordered. He felt a strange chill looking at the mysterious ship. Something about its design seemed familiar, but he could not place where he might have seen it before. Danny's fingers moved quickly over his console. "No match in any current fleet records, Captain." "But wait, I'm getting something from the old archives." He paused, his face growing pale. "Sir, this ship is listed as the UES Phoenix. According to these files, it disappeared in 2195 during its first mission." Amy whistled softly. "That was almost 200 years ago. How is it still intact out here?" Jake stared at the image on the screen. The Phoenix showed no signs of battle damage or decay. If anything, it looked like it had just rolled out of a shipyard yesterday. The hull gleamed with an inner light that no human ship possessed. What was the Phoenix's mission? Lisa asked, pulling up historical records on her station. Danny read from his screen. Classified. "Most of the files are locked behind security protocols I can't access. All I can find is that it was an experimental vessel built during humanity's early expansion period. The ship vanished on its maiden voyage with all hands presumed lost." "Presumed lost," Jake repeated. "But here it is, looking like it just left port." He made his decision. Plot a course to intercept. "We're going to take a closer look." The Horizon's engines hummed to life, pushing the small exploration ship toward the derelict vessel. As they drew closer, more details became visible. The Phoenix was huge, easily 3 times the size of their own ship. Strange symbols were carved into its hull, symbols that looked almost like human writing but somehow different. "Captain, I'm reading power signatures from that ship," Amy reported, her voice tense with excitement. "It's not dead. Something is still running inside there." "Life signs?" Jake asked hopefully. "Negative. But there are definitely active systems. The power output is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's generating energy at levels that should be impossible for a ship that size." Jake felt his heart rate increase. A functioning human ship from the early expansion period would be an incredible discovery. The technology alone could advance human science by decades. "Prepare a boarding party." "Amy, Lisa, you're with me. Danny, you have the bridge." "Sir, are you sure that's wise?" Danny looked worried. "We don't know what happened to the original crew. There could be dangers we can't detect. We'll take full precautions," Jake assured him. "But we can't pass up an opportunity like this. If that ship contains early human technology, it could change everything." The trio suited up in their environmental gear and crossed to the Phoenix using the Horizon shuttle. The closer they got to the mysterious vessel, the more impressive it became. The hull seemed to shimmer with colors that shifted and changed as they watched. When they finally docked with the Phoenix's airlock, Jake noticed that the seals engaged automatically as if the ship was welcoming them aboard. "The atmosphere inside is breathable," Amy announced, checking her scanner. "Temperature and pressure are normal for human habitation. How is that possible after 2 centuries?" They entered the Phoenix cautiously, weapons ready but pointed down. The interior was even more stunning than the exterior. The corridors were wide and curved, lit by panels that glowed with soft blue light. Everything looked clean and new, as if the ship had been built yesterday. "The architecture is definitely human," Lisa observed, "but the technology is way beyond anything we use now. Look at these control panels." Jake examined the nearest console. The interface was smooth and seamless, responding to touch with displays that appeared in mid-air. The symbols were definitely human in origin, but they incorporated designs he had never seen before. "Someone's coming," Amy whispered, raising her weapon, but instead of footsteps, they heard a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It was calm and pleasant, with a slight electronic undertone that marked it as artificial intelligence. "Welcome aboard the UES Phoenix," the voice said. "I am Genesis, this vessel's primary intelligence system. I have been waiting a very long time for humans to find me again." Jake lowered his weapon slowly. "Genesis, what happened to this ship? Where is the crew?" "The crew completed their mission and were evacuated to safety 192 years ago, Captain Morrison. I remained here to maintain the ship and await further orders. I have been monitoring galactic communications and am aware of current political situations. I believe the time has come for the Phoenix to resume active service." "How do you know my name?" Jake asked, startled. "I accessed your ship's databases when you approached. I needed to verify that you were indeed human and authorized to be here. Your exploration credentials are impressive, Captain. You and your crew are exactly the type of people this ship was designed to serve." Amy stepped forward, her engineer's curiosity overcoming her caution. "Genesis, what exactly is the Phoenix designed to do?" The eye paused for a moment, as if considering how much to reveal. "The Phoenix was built as humanity's insurance policy, Lieutenant Foster. It was designed to protect Earth and human colonies from threats that conventional vessels could not handle. The ship incorporates technology from multiple alien civilizations, refined and improved by human innovation." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "What kind of threats?" "Any threat to human survival, Captain. The Phoenix was created during a time when humanity faced potential extinction from hostile alien forces. While diplomatic solutions were being pursued, this ship was prepared as a final guarantee that humans would never again be helpless against superior technology." The 3 humans exchanged glances. They had stumbled upon something far more significant than a lost exploration vessel. The Phoenix was apparently a warship, possibly the most advanced vessel humanity had ever built. "Genesis," Jake said carefully, "why are you telling us this now?" "Because, Captain Morrison, long-range sensors indicate that a Valdorian Empire dreadnought is approaching this position. Based on their current trajectory and the aggressive nature of recent Valdorian activities, I calculate a high probability that they intend to claim this vessel for themselves. The Phoenix cannot allow advanced human technology to fall into hostile hands." Jake's blood ran cold. The Valdorians were known throughout the galaxy as ruthless conquerors who respected only strength. If they were coming for the Phoenix, it meant they somehow knew about the ship's capabilities. "How long until they arrive?" he asked, approximately. 4 hours, Captain. I suggest we use that time to prepare for what may be an unavoidable confrontation." Jake Morrison felt his heart pounding as Genesis spoke about the approaching Valdorian ship. 4 hours was not much time to understand what they had discovered, let alone prepare for a confrontation with one of the galaxy's most feared military forces. He looked at Amy and Lisa, seeing his own concern reflected in their faces. Genesis, can you show us the ship's capabilities? Jake asked. If we're going to face a Valdorian dreadnought, we need to know what we're working with. Of course. Captain, please follow the guide lights to the main control center. Blue lights began glowing along the corridor floor, leading them deeper into the Phoenix. As they walked, Jake noticed that the ship felt alive somehow. The walls seemed to pulse gently with energy, and he could hear a low humming that reminded him of a heartbeat. The control center was unlike anything on modern human ships. Instead of individual stations, there was a central platform surrounded by floating displays that responded to hand movements. The entire room glowed with soft light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The Phoenix incorporates technology from 7 different alien civilizations, Genesis explained as the displays came to life. The Altarians contributed energy manipulation systems. The Vorthan provided dimensional phase technology. The Keepers shared temporal mechanics. Humans added the most important element of all, which was what? Amy asked, studying the floating screens with fascination. Unpredictability, Genesis replied. Other species build technology to follow precise rules and patterns. Humans create systems that can adapt, improvise, and exceed their original design parameters. This ship learns from every encounter and becomes more effective over time. Lisa pointed at one of the displays showing the ship's exterior. How big is this vessel exactly? The Phoenix is 800 meters long and contains 47 decks. However, size is not the most important factor in its design. The ship can manipulate space-time to appear smaller or larger as needed. It can also phase partially out of normal reality to avoid detection or attacks. Jake stared at the specifications scrolling past on the screens. The numbers were incredible. The Phoenix's power core generated more energy than most space stations. Its defensive systems included shields that could bend reality itself. The weapons array contained devices he had never heard of. What about crew requirements? He asked, how many people does it take to operate? The Phoenix was designed to function with a crew of 100, but I can operate all essential systems independently if needed. The ship responds best to human intuition and creativity. Your role would be to provide strategic thinking and tactical decisions that pure logic cannot achieve. Amy moved closer to one of the control panels. Genesis, can you show me the engineering systems? I need to understand how this technology works. Certainly, Lieutenant Foster. Please place your hand on the interface. Amy hesitated for a moment, then pressed her palm against the smooth surface. Immediately, information began flowing into her mind. She gasped as images and concepts filled her consciousness, showing her how the Phoenix's systems functioned on levels that seemed impossible. The power core uses controlled micro-singularities, she whispered in amazement. The engines don't push against space, they fold it. The weapons create tiers in reality itself. She looked at Jake with wide eyes. Captain, this ship could take on an entire fleet and win. The Phoenix has never been tested in actual combat, Genesis noted. The original mission was completed through stealth and diplomacy. However, simulations suggest that the ship's capabilities far exceed any known vessel in the galaxy. Lisa was studying the navigation systems when alarms began sounding throughout the control center. Red lights flashed as new displays appeared showing long-range sensor data. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, Genesis announced. Valdorian Empire vessel, Annihilator-class dreadnought. They are approaching at maximum sublight speed and will arrive in 3 hours, 42 minutes. Jake felt ice forming in his stomach. He had heard of Annihilator-class ships. They were mobile weapons platforms designed to destroy entire planets. The fact that the Valdorians were sending one to claim the Phoenix meant they knew exactly what they were dealing with. Can we contact my ship? Jake asked. Yes, Captain. I am establishing communication with the UES Horizon now. Danny Rodriguez's face appeared on the main display, looking worried. Captain, we're picking up a massive energy signature approaching fast. It's big enough to be a battleship. Danny, listen carefully, Jake said. Get the Horizon away from here immediately. Set course for the nearest coalition outpost and send a priority message to Fleet Command. Tell them we've discovered a classified human vessel and that Valdorian forces are moving to intercept. Sir, what about you and the team? Jake looked around the Phoenix's control center. We're staying with the ship. Someone needs to make sure this technology doesn't fall into enemy hands. Captain Morrison, Genesis interrupted, I should inform you that leaving is no longer an option. The Phoenix's security protocols have been activated. The ship will not allow anyone to depart while hostile forces are approaching. This is to prevent capture and interrogation of personnel who have accessed classified systems. Amy and Lisa looked at Jake with alarm. They were trapped on an ancient warship, facing an enemy that could destroy planets, with no way to escape. How long have those protocols been active? Jake asked. Since you first boarded the ship, Captain. I apologize for not mentioning this earlier, but I calculated that you would not have remained if you knew about the security measures. Danny, Jake said to the screen, get out of here now. That's an order. The communication ended as the Horizon's engines fired up, carrying the small exploration ship away from the nebula at maximum speed. Jake watched them go with mixed feelings. His crew would be safe, but he and his two officers were now committed to whatever came next. Genesis, what exactly are the Valdorians hoping to accomplish? Lisa asked. Intelligence reports suggest that the Valdorian Empire has been seeking advanced human technology for several years. They believe that controlling early human experimental vessels will give them the advantage needed to dominate the galaxy. The Empire scientists think they can reverse engineer our systems to create superweapons. Can they? Amy asked nervously. No, Genesis replied with what sounded like amusement. The Phoenix's technology is integrated at the quantum level with human neural patterns. Only humans can operate it effectively. Any attempt to copy or steal the systems would result in catastrophic failure. Jake began to understand the bigger picture. So this isn't just about one ship. The Valdorians want to capture human technology to build their own version. Exactly, Captain. The Phoenix represents something they cannot achieve through their own research. Human creativity and adaptability are the key components that make this technology functional. Without those elements, the systems are just very expensive scrap metal. Well then, Jake said, straightening his shoulders, I guess we better make sure they don't get the chance to find that out, Genesis seemed pleased with his response. I was hoping you would say that, Captain Morrison. Shall we begin your orientation on the ship's combat systems? Jake looked at Amy and Lisa, seeing determination replacing fear in their expressions. They might be trapped on an ancient warship, facing impossible odds, but they were still human. That apparently counted for more than he had ever imagined. Let's do it, he said. Show us how to fight. The next 3 hours passed faster than Jake Morrison had ever experienced. Genesis guided him through the Phoenix's combat systems while Amy worked frantically to understand the engineering controls and Lisa mapped out the ship's capabilities. Every few minutes, the AI updated them on the approaching Valdorian dreadnought. 2 hours until contact, Genesis announced as Jake practiced operating the weapon's interface. The system required him to think about targets rather than aim at them. When he focused on a piece of space debris floating nearby, the ship's dimensional lances locked onto it instantly. This feels wrong, Jake muttered, removing his hands from the control surface. I'm not a military officer. I explore planets and map star systems. I don't fight wars. Captain, Genesis said gently, the Phoenix was not designed for military officers. It was built for explorers, scientists, and diplomats. People who understand that some things are worth protecting, even if protection requires fighting. Amy looked up from the engineering station where she had been studying power distribution systems. Jake, I've been thinking about what Genesis told us. If the Valdorians get this technology, they won't just use it against other aliens. They'll come for Earth next. Lieutenant Foster is correct, Genesis confirmed. Valdorian expansion strategy involves eliminating potential threats before they can develop into actual challenges. If they acquire Phoenix-level technology, humanity's current defensive capabilities would be insufficient to stop them. Lisa pulled up a display showing the approaching enemy vessel. The Annihilator-class dreadnought was enormous, easily 5 times the size of the Phoenix. Its hull bristled with weapons designed to crack open planetary shields and reduce cities to ash. 1 hour, 30 minutes until contact, Genesis reported. Captain, I am receiving a transmission from the Valdorian ship. War Commander Zeth Kalar wishes to speak with you. Jake felt his mouth go dry. He had heard of Zeth Kalar, one of the Empire's most ruthless commanders. The alien had conquered 17 worlds in the past decade, each time demanding unconditional surrender before beginning. Orbital bombardment. Put him through, Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. The main display flickered and showed a reptilian face with golden scales and eyes like molten metal. Zeth Kalar's voice was deep and threatening, with the electronic translation making. His words sound even more menacing. Human vessel, you will surrender the ancient artifact immediately. The Empire claims salvage rights to all abandoned technology in this sector. Jake stood straighter, drawing on every bit of authority he possessed. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Service. The vessel you're referring to is human property and remains under human jurisdiction. You have no legal claim. Here, Zeth Kalar's laugh was like grinding metal. Legal claim? We are beyond the reach of your coalition laws, human. My ship carries enough firepower to destroy a dozen vessels like yours. You will comply or be eliminated. I'm afraid that's not going to happen, Jake replied, surprised by his own calm tone. This ship is under Earth's protection. One human exploration vessel? Zeth Kalar's eyes narrowed. Your databases show no significant military presence in this region. You are alone, Captain Morrison. Surrender now and I may allow your crew to live as slaves. Counteroffer, Jake said, feeling Genesis somehow supporting his confidence. Turn around and leave this system immediately. Consider this your only warning. The Valdorian commander's expression shifted from amusement to rage. You dare threaten the Empire? I will enjoy watching your ship burn, human. You have 1 hour to reconsider your position. The transmission ended, leaving the 3 humans staring at the blank screen. Well, Amy said after a moment, I guess we're really doing this. 58 minutes until the deadline, Genesis noted. Captain, may I suggest we use this time to complete your training? The War Commander will not wait beyond his stated time limit. Jake returned to the weapons console, but his hands were shaking now. The reality of the situation was hitting him. In less than an hour, he would be fighting for his life against one of the galaxy's most dangerous military commanders. Genesis, what are our actual chances? He asked quietly. That depends entirely on you, Captain. The Phoenix has superior technology, but technology alone does not win battles. Victory requires human intuition, creativity, and the ability to make decisions that pure logic cannot predict. Lisa was studying the tactical displays when she noticed something odd. Genesis, why haven't the Valdorians tried to scan our ship? Most military vessels would be gathering intelligence on their target. An excellent observation, Lieutenant Park. The Phoenix's stealth systems are currently active. To their sensors, we appear to be a standard human exploration vessel with minimal armament. They cannot detect the ship's true capabilities until we choose to reveal them, Amy grinned suddenly. So they're expecting an easy victory against a helpless science ship? Precisely. War Commander Zeth Kalar believes he is dealing with frightened explorers who stumbled across an ancient derelict. He has no idea that the Phoenix is the most advanced warship ever constructed. Jake began to feel a spark of hope. If the Valdorians were expecting a quick one-sided battle, they might not be prepared for serious resistance. The element of surprise could be worth more than raw firepower. Genesis, can you show me how the defensive systems work? He asked. Certainly, Captain. Please observe. The display changed to show the space around both ships. Genesis highlighted the Phoenix's position and then demonstrated how the reality distortion fields functioned. Instead of stopping attacks, the fields moved them to alternate dimensions where they could cause no damage. The system can handle any conventional weapon, Genesis explained. Energy beams, projectiles, Even exotic matter bombs simply cease to exist in our local spacetime when the fields are active. What about their quantum disruptors? Lisa asked. Those weapons can destabilize molecular bonds. The Phoenix was designed specifically to counter such threats. Our dimensional phase capability allows us to exist partially outside normal reality. Quantum disruptors cannot affect matter that technically does not exist in their frame of reference. Jake was beginning to understand just how advanced the Phoenix really was. The ship was not just more powerful than contemporary vessels, it operated on completely different principles. While other civilizations had focused on building bigger guns and stronger shields, humans had apparently found ways to cheat the basic rules of physics. 30 minutes until deadline, Genesis announced. Captain, the Valdorian vessel is beginning to power up its weapon systems. War Commander Zethkalar appears to be preparing for immediate combat once his ultimatum expires. Then, so are we? Jake said, placing his hands back on the control interface. Genesis, prepare all systems for battle. It's time to show the galaxy what human engineering can really do. With pleasure, Captain Morrison. All systems are coming online now. Throughout the Phoenix, lights began glowing brighter as ancient technology awakened from its long sleep. The ship's hull started to shimmer with energy patterns that would have been impossible to explain using conventional science. In the depths of the vessel, weapons that could tear holes in reality itself prepared to fire for the first time in nearly 2 centuries. War Commander Zethkalar was about to discover that some human artifacts were far more dangerous than they appeared. The hour passed like a countdown to Judgment Day. Jake Morrison watched the timer on his display tick down to 0 while War Commander Zethkalar's massive dreadnought moved into attack position. The Valdorian ship was so large it blocked out stars as it approached, its weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. Time expired, Captain, Genesis announced calmly. The Valdorian vessel is powering up quantum disruptor cannons. Jake felt sweat running down his back despite the cool air on the Phoenix's bridge. Amy and Lisa stood at their stations, ready to support him however they could. None of them had ever been in a real space battle before, but they were about to face one of the galaxy's most experienced military commanders. Incoming transmission from the Annihilator, Genesis reported. War Commander Zethkalar's scaled face appeared on the screen again, his golden eyes blazing with anticipation. Your time is finished, human. Prepare to witness the power of the Valdorian Empire. The transmission ended just as the enemy ship fired its first salvo. 6 quantum disruptor beams lanced through space toward the Phoenix, each one capable of tearing apart a conventional vessel's hull at the molecular level. Defensive systems activating, Genesis said. Jake watched in amazement as the deadly energy beams simply vanished when they reached the Phoenix. The reality distortion fields created zones where the attacks ceased to exist, passing harmlessly into alternate dimensions where they could hurt nothing. On the Annihilator's bridge, alarms began sounding as sensors registered impossible readings. The human ship had somehow negated weapons that could crack planets. Fire again, Zethkalar snarled. Maximum power. The Valdorian dreadnought unleashed its full quantum disruptor array, sending dozens of destruction beams toward the Phoenix. Again, every attack vanished before reaching its target. Their weapons are useless against us, Amy said with growing excitement. Genesis, can we counterattack now? Whenever you are ready, Captain Morrison, the AI replied. I recommend starting with a demonstration rather than full destruction. The goal should be to disable their offensive capabilities while showing them the futility of continued aggression. Jake placed his hands on the weapons control interface, feeling the ship's systems respond to his thoughts. The dimensional lances were unlike any weapon he had ever imagined. Instead of firing energy or projectiles, they created tiny tears in space-time that expanded along whatever they touched. Target their forward weapon arrays, he decided. Let's see how they handle losing their main guns. The Phoenix fired its first shot, a barely visible distortion that crossed the distance to the Annihilator in seconds. When it struck the enemy ship's hull, reality seemed to bend around the impact point. The Valdorian dreadnought's massive quantum Disruptor cannons simply ceased to exist. Leaving empty spaces where they had been moments before, War Commander Zethkalar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Half of his primary weapons had vanished without any explosion or energy discharge. His sensors could not explain what had happened. Impossible, he whispered. No known technology can do this. Sir, his weapons officer reported, the human ship is not showing up on our scans as anything more than a basic exploration vessel. But the energy signatures from that attack are off our measurement scales. Zethkalar's training told him to retreat and call for reinforcements, but his pride would not allow it. He had never been defeated by a lesser species, and he would not start now. Deploy gravity bombs, he ordered. If their shields can stop energy weapons, let's see how they handle spatial distortion devices. The Valdorian ship launched a dozen spherical weapons that began warping space around themselves as they approached the Phoenix. Gravity bombs created artificial black holes that could crush any ship caught in their event horizons. Interesting approach, Genesis observed. However, they still do not understand what they are facing. The Phoenix activated its temporal manipulation systems, creating localized time dilation fields around each gravity bomb. The weapons found themselves trapped in bubbles where time moved so slowly that their approach effectively stopped. 2. Outside observers, the bombs appeared to be frozen in space. Lisa, plot an evasive course, Jake ordered, getting more comfortable with the ship's capabilities. Let's show them what real maneuverability looks like. The Phoenix began moving in ways that defied physics. Instead of accelerating gradually like normal ships, it simply appeared in different locations as Genesis folded space around them. One moment they were facing the Annihilator head-on, the next they were behind the massive vessel. Then off to one side, War Commander Zethkalar watched his enemy ship teleport around the battlefield and felt fear creeping into his mind for the first time in decades. This was not a battle anymore. It was a demonstration of technology so advanced that his forces might as well be throwing rocks. Double quotes, sir, should we attempt to retreat? His navigation officer asked nervously. No, Zethkalar snarled. Activate the void cannon. If we cannot capture this technology, we will ensure no one else can use it either. Jake saw new energy readings appearing on his displays as the Valdorian ship began charging its ultimate weapon. The void cannon was designed to eliminate entire star systems by creating expanding zones of nothingness that consumed everything they touched. Genesis, what is that thing? He asked with growing alarm. A planet-killer weapon, Captain. The void cannon creates cascading reality failures that spread until they encounter quantum stabilization fields. In open space, such a weapon could theoretically destroy everything within several light years. Amy went pale. Can our defenses stop it? Unknown. The Phoenix has never encountered a void cannon before. However, I believe we have the capability to counter it using our most advanced systems. Jake felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. If he made the wrong decision, not only would his crew die, but the expanding void might eventually reach inhabited systems. Billions of lives hung in the balance. What do you recommend? He asked Genesis. I suggest we demonstrate the full extent of human engineering capability. The Phoenix has one weapon system that was never tested during the original mission. The temporal lance can target events in the past, preventing them from occurring. You mean time travel? Not exactly, Captain. The weapon reaches back along the target's timeline and eliminates the causal chain that led to the current threat. In simple terms, we can make the void cannon never have been fired. Jake stared at the display showing the Valdorian dreadnought charging its reality-destroying weapon. He had gone from exploring empty space to wielding technology that could rewrite history itself, all in a single day. Do it, he said firmly. Stop them before they can fire. The Phoenix's most advanced weapon system came online, reaching across dimensions and through time itself to target the void cannon's firing sequence. Reality shimmered around both ships as past and present briefly became fluid. War Commander Zethkalar was giving the order to fire when his weapon suddenly powered down without explanation. His officers frantically checked their systems, but could find no reason for the malfunction. "The weapon never fired, Captain," Genesis reported with satisfaction. From the Valdorian perspective, their ultimate weapon simply refused to function. Jake realized that the battle was essentially over. The enemy had tried everything in their arsenal and failed completely. Now it was time to end this confrontation permanently. War Commander Zethkalar stared at his weapon displays in complete confusion. Every system showed that the void cannon should be functioning perfectly, but it refused to fire. His engineers reported no damage, no power failures, no explanation for why their ultimate weapon had simply stopped working. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the human ship is moving into attack position." Jake Morrison watched the Valdorian dreadnought on his screen and made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. Instead of destroying the enemy vessel outright, he chose to send a message that would be impossible to ignore. "Genesis, can you disable their ship without killing the crew?" he asked. "Certainly, Captain." "The Phoenix can selectively target their propulsion, weapons, and communication systems while leaving life support intact. This will demonstrate our capability while showing restraint." "Do it!" The Phoenix fired a series of dimensional lances with surgical precision. Each shot removed specific systems from the Valdorian ship without causing explosions or hull breaches. The Annihilator's massive engines simply vanished, leaving the dreadnought drifting helplessly in space. Its remaining weapons disappeared, one by one, until the feared warship was completely defenseless on the Valdorian bridge. Chaos erupted as system after system went offline without warning. Zethkalar watched his mighty dreadnought become a powerless hulk in a matter of minutes. "Damage report," he commanded, though his voice lacked its usual authority. "Sir, we have no damage," his engineering officer replied in bewilderment. "Our systems are just gone. They didn't explode or fail, they simply no longer exist." Before Zethkalar could respond, his communications array activated on its own. Jake Morrison's face appeared on the screen, but something had changed about the human captain. He looked calm and confident, no longer the frightened explorer from earlier. "War Commander Zethkalar," Jake said, "I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you." The Valdorian commander said nothing, his golden eyes fixed on the human who had just made his invincible dreadnought completely helpless. For the past 2 centuries, the galaxy has believed that humans are a young species with limited technology and military capability. This belief has served us well because it kept us out of conflicts while we developed our true potential. Jake paused, letting his words sink in. "What you have just experienced is a small demonstration of early human engineering. The Phoenix is one of 12 prototype vessels built during our expansion period. Each ship was designed to protect humanity from existential threats." War Commander Zethkalar felt his blood turning cold. If this was just one of 12 such vessels, the implications were staggering. "The other 11 ships are currently activating throughout the galaxy," Jake continued. "They have been dormant for nearly 200 years, waiting for a situation that required their intervention. Your Empire's recent aggression has triggered their awakening." This was partially true. Genesis had indeed sent activation signals to the other prototype vessels, though Jake had only learned about it moments before opening the communication channel. "I am transmitting tactical data from this engagement to every major civilization in the galaxy," Jake announced. "They will see exactly what happened when the Valdorian Empire's most advanced dreadnought encountered human defensive technology. I want everyone to understand that humanity chooses peace not from weakness but from strength." Amy and Lisa watched their captain with admiration. Somewhere during the battle, Jake had transformed from a nervous explorer into a leader who understood the bigger picture. "War Commander," Jake said, "you have a choice to make. You can return to your empire and report that humans possess technology capable of neutralizing any threat, or you can choose to escalate this conflict and discover what our offensive capabilities really look like." Zethkalar struggled with his response. His entire worldview had been shattered in the past hour. The Valdorian Empire's power was built on superior technology and ruthless military tactics. If humans could casually disable their best ships, the Empire's expansion plans would have to be completely reconsidered. "What do you want from us?" he finally asked. "Withdrawal from coalition space and an end to your territorial expansion," Jake replied. "The galaxy is large enough for all of us, but only if everyone respects boundaries and follows diplomatic protocols." "And if we refuse?" Jake's expression hardened. "Then you will discover that the Phoenix was designed to be gentle compared to some of its sister ships. The Use Ragnarok, for example, can eliminate entire fleets by removing them from the timeline. Entirely, the UES Nemesis can turn a planet's own gravity against it, creating implosions that leave nothing but empty space." These were complete fabrications, but Genesis had suggested that psychological warfare might be more effective than additional demonstrations of force. War Commander Zethkalar believed every word. After witnessing impossible technology in action, the idea of even more advanced human weapons seemed entirely plausible. "I will convey your message to the Empire," he said stiffly. "Excellent. Genesis, restore their communications and propulsion systems." The Valdorian dreadnought's missing systems reappeared as suddenly as they had vanished, leaving the crew staring at their instruments in amazement. They now had first-hand proof that human technology could give and take away their capabilities at will. "War Commander," Jake said before ending the transmission, "I suggest you emphasize to your leadership that humans prefer cooperation to conflict. We have the ability to end threats permanently, but we would rather build a galaxy where such measures are unnecessary." The communication ended, leaving Zethkalar alone with his thoughts and the humiliating task of explaining his defeat to the Empire's high command. Days later, Jake stood on the Phoenix's observation deck watching stars stream past as they traveled back toward human space. The ship's reappearance had caused a sensation throughout the galaxy. Alien civilizations that had dismissed humanity as harmless were frantically reassessing their assumptions. "Captain," Genesis said, "I have received responses from the other prototype vessels. All 11 ships have successfully reactivated and are moving to defensive positions around human colonies. The mere knowledge of their existence has caused several potential conflicts to resolve themselves through diplomatic channels." Amy joined Jake at the viewport. "Do you think it will last?" "The peace, I mean. For a while," Jake replied. "Fear can prevent wars, but only mutual respect can create lasting peace." "Hopefully we've bought humanity enough time to work toward the latter." Lisa looked up from her console. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. They want a full briefing on the Phoenix's capabilities and current status." Jake smiled, imagining the chaos his report would cause among the military leadership. "Tell them we'll be happy to provide a demonstration. I think it's time for humanity to stop pretending to be something we're not." The Phoenix continued its journey home, carrying 3 explorers who had accidentally changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Behind them, space remained peaceful as word spread that humanity's true strength had finally been revealed. In the depths of the ship, Genesis quietly sent maintenance signals to its sister vessels, ensuring that the galaxy's newest peacekeepers would be ready for whatever challenges the future might bring. The age of human vulnerability was over, and a new era of respected strength had begun.